Okay. Hey, everybody. Andy Webster here with Pure Life Realty. I'm here with Josh McKenzie from Mortgage One.
Hey there.
So we were just having a conversation yesterday about what it can look like for a new home buyer in this market. And especially with tax season coming up, everybody's anxious to see what that tax return is going to look like. And, some possibilities of what somebody could do with that rather than taking that tax return and letting it spend you or, spend it on that Hawaii trip. Maybe there's an option for you to use that funds strategically and start thinking about that today to get you into a house. So Josh was kind enough to put together a little spreadsheet here that he's going to go ahead and share his screen and show us that talks about a couple different comparisons of using an FHA loan and what that might look like. So Josh, go ahead and share that.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, let's chat a little bit about this.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity, I think, especially this time of year when we have an influx of tax return money coming into a lot of households to use that money to help create wealth through home ownership. Because we all know how difficult it can be to save up $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But a lot of times that's the amount of money a lot of households are getting back on their tax return. And so that money can be the difference between having enough for your down payment or not having it, or maybe having enough to bridge the gap for some closing costs or not having that money. So there's a couple different avenues that people can take when it comes to their down payment, since we do have in Washington a Washington State Housing and Finance Commission down payment assistance program. And then we also have the regular FHA option using borrower funds for down payment. And those loans are two different loans. They look a little differently when it comes to interest rates and payments. So I want borrowers to understand how much their tax return could impact the route that they take, whether it's using the down payment assistance or using their own funds for down payment. And so this page that I put together kind of shows an example of a $350,000 purchase for a home using a standard FHA loan with the borrower's own down payment funds versus using the FHA loan with the Washington State Housing and Finance down payment assistance. And you can see, with the FHA standard loan with the borrower's funds, the down payment on a $350,000 purchase would be about $12,250. And I know, like we were talking about, a lot of borrowers do have, a few $1,000s in their bank accounts that, 12 or 13,000 might take a little while to save up to get to, right?
Yeah.
But if we get, a tax return that bridges that gap and maybe gets us over the hump, or maybe it gets us close to that hump, and maybe we can just get a little bit more from a small gift from family members or a 401k account or something like that. Well, now the borrower is crossing the finish line on the down payment, and we can help them maybe negotiate a deal that provides closing costs from the seller or something of that nature. And now they're in a house that's $350,000 and their total payment is maybe $2,657 a month. And they did that, and they start accruing that equity from their home ownership just because they were able to bridge that gap with the tax return money that they received.
Sure. Yeah. So just to make sure this is totally clear, I'm the buyer here looking at this. On this first side of FHA standard 30-year fixed, you're saying that I could buy a house, barring approval, up to $350,000 with a 30-year loan term. In the FHA, the down payment would be $12,250. And my FICO, is that what the credit score is? I need a credit score of 680, or what does that mean?
So the example I used was with a 680, but you can certainly purchase a home with an FHA loan. Actually, they don't have a minimum credit score requirement. If we're talking in practical terms, what would actually get approved by an automated underwriting system and what the lender could move forward and approve, typically you're going to have a much larger probability of approval if you're in the 600s. So if you have a 605 or a 625 or something like that, there's still a very real possibility of getting approved with those credit scores.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So, okay, so there's opportunity for people even with a sub 600. Good to
Yes.
know. And then their total monthly payment, because that's what everybody really cares about. How much do I need to bring? And what my total monthly payment looks like, it would be $2,657 a month.
Yeah, with this example at that $350 purchase price, estimated taxes and insurance being thrown in there, which are a little bit variable, but I try to be as accurate as I can with my estimates. The total payment would be about $2,657.
Okay. And I know a lot of people might not know what closing costs are, but a lot of times during a transaction, there's also something called closing costs that the buyer pays for.
Right.
And that's alongside their down payment. So I know that you're typically calculating those things into it. And in a house like this, I mean, you can anticipate maybe 11,000, maybe a little more of closing costs that would happen for the buyer, which is working with a title company, lender fees, and things like that. But the cool thing about it in this market right now, that buyers have some leverage where with I'm writing up your offer, we can always gauge interest with the seller and see if they would be willing to cover those closing costs for a buyer, which I see happen from my own experience often. And a couple of years ago, the market's going crazy, and house prices going up and up and up. It was kind of unheard of to have anything like that happen. But people are offering over asking price, no closing costs. So now, I mean, even if you're offering an asking price, I think many sellers could anticipate covering some closing costs. So those conversations, it's another thing that we can talk about and help a buyer who doesn't have, a bunch of cash in their bank account still get into a home. Negotiating. So
exactly.
Cool. So all in all, with that first option, a home for $350,000. Sounds like you get credit score anywhere from 6 and up. 12,250 down payment. Monthly payment would be $2,657. Cool.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty cool usage of that tax return. Maybe better, like you're talking about, than getting some equity and growing some wealth with your family, or just for a single person. Now I'm really excited to hear about the other option here too. So FHA with WA DPA 30-year fixed. Tell me what that means and what the difference is.
So with this option, we're having the state of Washington, through the Washington State Housing and Finance Commission, we're having them front the down payment to the borrower in the form of a silent second lien. So the first loan is using the state funds for the down payment. That down payment is basically a second loan behind the first mortgage, but there's no monthly payment associated with it. That gets paid back to the state when the borrower refinances or sells the home. But the immediate impact is the borrower gets to use those state funds for the down payment, and in the form of this Washington State Down Payment Assistance Program. And the interest rate is a little different than a standard FHA loan. It would be a 7% today when we're recording this versus the 6.1. But you're not taking those funds out of your pocket for the down payment. So there's a little give and take with that.
Interesting.
And then the payment does adjust because you have a little bit of a higher interest rate. Your total payment would be about $2,855 versus the $2,657. But again, it's a great option for borrowers who think that spending that $12,000 out of their pocket might be a little bit out of their league at this point, right, financially. But the other thing that can happen too, and we've dealt with it when you're in a really competitive situation with a buyer and maybe 4 or 5 other offers, maybe the seller isn't willing to allow you to get seller credit for your closing costs. And so now you're in a situation where the borrower has some funds, maybe they have $12,000 in their bank account, but now they can't use it for down payment because they need to pay their own closing costs that the seller isn't willing to pay. So in that instance, maybe we do a little audible, and instead of using a typical FHA loan, we go to the down payment assistance loan, And now those borrower funds in their bank account are used for the closing costs rather than the down payment. We let the state funds be used for the down payment. If the borrower can handle that $2,850 payment, then they can still use their own funds for closing and get into that house that they love.
Love it. So basically pivoting. I mean, if you can't get the closing costs covered, we have this option for down payment assistance where you use those funds to cover the closing costs. If you find a house you absolutely love, but the seller decides whether they want to do that or not.
Yeah.
So if somebody is applying for this, can they be qualified for both of these at the same time and then just pivot with you with whatever house opportunity comes, what they need to do during negotiation?
Yeah, that's a great point. I do like to give borrowers both options and let them know if we're using the down payment assistance program, maybe you're qualified up to $350. But if you use your own funds for down payment and we use a standard FHA product, maybe now you're qualified up to $375 or $370 or what have you. So, I like to give both options, and then we take a look and see what they end up finding in the market that they fall in love with, and maybe they fall in love with something that's only $345, and they have both options at their disposal,
right?
Or maybe they fall in love with something that's $365, and that kind of dictates what route we need to go. So it just depends on the individual and the individual home they fall in love with.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And if they can get their closing costs covered and they can get the FHA DPA, then they can just buy a house and go to Hawaii all in the same year, right?
Exactly. We like to have our cake and eat it, so let's do it if we can.
Right on. Cool. Well, I wanted to say one thing since we have your screen up. If there's somebody watching this and they wanted to know what they were pre-qualified for right now, they could take a picture of the little square QR code that you have on the screen that will take them right to your cool little doohickey they put in a little bit of information and give them a quick understanding what they're pre-qualified for, right?
Yeah, definitely. Take a picture, scan the QR code. It'll take you to my free pre-qual tool that will give you actually personalized rate and loan option information. All they do is a soft credit that will not affect your credit score one bit. And then we can do some electronic verifications on the back end. It's a really great personalized tool to see what loan options are available.
Cool. All right. So real quick, go ahead and unshare your screen. I'm going to share my screen because now that we've heard all this stuff and we can see that somebody has a loan up to $350, what does that mean for them? What kind of homes are out there? So looking here, this is my site, pureliferealty.com. If you want to go look at homes, you can go there right now and just search for anything. So I did a little filter up to $350 and a minimum 3 bedrooms. And just wanted to see what's going on out there. So I grabbed 3. This first one's from Kennewick here in 927 South Keller Street. This is actually a townhome, which the FHA will work for on a townhome, and sometimes they can be a little bit more cost effective, right?
And it's such a good looking one too.
It's super good looking. It's listed at $335, so it's less than those numbers that you were just presenting to us.
Yeah.
So let's see just a couple more pictures of what we're looking at inside here. I know I hear from a lot of people that they feel like they can't get a good house. Well, they're out there. This is a townhouse, 3 bedroom. It's got 1 full bath, a half bath. This is a 3 bathroom, a 3/4 bath, and a half bath. So 3 bed, 3 bath, 1,576 square feet townhome. And maybe there's an HOA here. I didn't look too deep into that. I don't know, but at that price, maybe that'll be worked in and be okay, right?
Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
Just a random question. If somebody were renting that townhome, how much do you think they would pay for rent off the top of your head?
I don't know, over $2,000. I mean,
yeah. And a mortgage payment on that is probably only $2,500.
Yes. I mean, that's where it's come down to is renting has pushed people to a spot where they're really feeling it. And people are upset about it, and I understand it, you
Right.
know, and what
Understandable.
we're making this video because people don't feel like it's in reach sometimes. But if you think strategically about it and you're ready, if you're ready, and you
Right.
have communications with some people who know what we're talking about, what we're doing, if you're ready, then if an opportunity is there, you can take it. But if we're not ready,
Yeah.
opportunities come and go by, and other people are grabbing them. So
Yeah.
there's one in Richland here on Coast Street, 315,000. So let's take a little look at some of these pictures inside. You know, this one has a basement. It's likely downstairs here. Some egress windows for the basement rooms.
Mhm.
Okay. And I mean, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,536 square feet here in central Richland. Let's go over here and look at this one. And this is somebody who likely did take advantage of it. They were ready because it went pending. This house went on the market, and then 3 days later, it's pending. So this is Pasco. Yeah, this is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,216 square feet. Nice backyard, little fire pit.
That also tells me if you're priced right, then there's still an opportunity to sell quickly.
Exactly. That's very true. So if we're not ready, these things come up, people look at them, they're gone.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's it. I appreciate having this conversation on a video with me. What I'll do is I'll put a link to these actual properties in the description here. And we'll also have a link to your, if somebody didn't take a picture of that QR code, we'll have a link to your pre-qual deal where they can get a quick look at what they can qualify for.
For sure. And throw up your link too to the Pure Life Realty page so that people can see all the wonderful options.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Great talking with you. Thanks for sharing this with everybody.
For sure. Good hanging out. Thanks, Andy.